I used to play Minecraft for 8 or 9 hours a day. Was I lazy? Maybe. But I don't actually think so. I'll tell you why. Our modern view of work is completely different than the way that humans have viewed work since the dawn of time. And the common misconception is this: our worth is placed in the value that we provide to society. The reason we might consider me at 13 playing Bed Wars on Hypixel with my brothers for hours a day as lazy is because I wasn't actually providing anything to society. But what's interesting to me is that I look back at this and it's like I was actually really disciplined, right? I would play for hours a day, the same game with the same rules, usually on the same maps. Then I'd go to bed thinking about this game, and I'd wake up the next morning excited to go back and play this game again, right? There wasn't a novelty to it. I enjoyed playing this game, and so I just kept going back to it. So from my perspective, I was working pretty hard, and I even got pretty good at it. While now I would admit that I wouldn't dedicate so much of my attention towards something like that, I can't help but try to extract where that diligence came from and how to achieve that level of grind in my life now and be happy with the effort that I'm putting in like I was then. So I want to talk about what the story actually reveals about man. And so for some reason, all of America just agrees that that level of satisfactory grind can't be accomplished in your career. And I disagree. I think that's absurd. I want to introduce to you a principle I call work-life integration. As opposed to work-life balance, which seeks to segregate, your work and your leisure, work-life integration is all about finding the type of work that fills you up. With the right approach, you can orchestrate your work to both maximize your productivity, but also to increase the level of enjoyment that you find in your work so that you will continue to outperform your competitors. I want to stress that this is not an easy thing to do, but there are some steps that we can use to get there. The first ingredient that you need is open-mindedness. And you're like, okay, Peter, that's cheesy. A lot of what we think about ourselves is flat out false, right? You may think that you're a details guy, but when you get that job in that career, you are just aching to work with people. The person that we think that we are is usually not who we actually are. Instead, be thinking about who is the person that I was made to be, and who am I right now? And how can I close that gap as much as possible? And the second ingredient that we need is just to try random stuff. That's basic. I mean, it's not groundbreaking. I would have never found out that I like logistically coordinating travel plans if I didn't spend 4 months last year traveling across Europe, where every Friday I would book the trip for the next week that I would leave on Saturday. I already love planning, and then I would just get better and better at it. I wouldn't have known that that was something worth cultivating if I didn't take that trip to begin with. This knowledge of yourself comes from experiences, but you can hack your experiences by taking what people might spend an entire lifetime doing and condense it into a couple of months or a couple of years. For over 6 years, I worked at a marketing agency working in the client acquisition and management side, basically sales. So I did cold calling or cold emails, and even though I was doing it every day, I really didn't like it, right? So I ended up creating a couple of campaigns that brought these interested, qualified contractors to us. And all I had to do now was answer the phones and close them. So I like sales when you're talking to interested people. I like building that relationship, but cold outreach isn't for me. And so what this taught me is that number one, my competence in being able to create a consistent flow of inbound leads existed. Like I can do this. And so now I know I can do this in any business that I try. The second thing that it taught me is actually I like relationship building so much more than I ever thought that I did. And it was that, like, for every 10 people that I would talk to, maybe I would begin to have small talk with one when I was cold calling. Whereas with this, every single person that calls in, I can actually build a relationship with, regardless of if they work with us or not. This is great. Like, this is my bread and butter here. I'm loving this, man. I didn't have a problem with sales. I had a problem with the game of cold calling. So I just stopped playing that game, and I went and found a game that I like playing, that I know that I'll stick with for a long time. I talked about this in one of my previous videos, that business is all just made up anyway. And so if you don't like the rules, just play different ones. So if there's much of a takeaway, it's just don't take it so seriously. Try stuff, and you'll figure out pretty quickly if that game is for you or not. I believe that we are all creative in some capacity, and it is our job to be creative in our work, right? I heard that if it's not creative work, either automate it, delegate it, or leave it. Don't do it. Why is that? Why would I say that, we should all be doing creative work? And I think it's because of this. Because God himself is a worker and a creator, and we are made in his image. This is why work is good, because when we are diligently creating, we are actually being more like God. But work wasn't the thing that you were made for. In the end, you'll be asking yourself, what was my life's work? What was the thing that I gave my life for? Because even I hope that at the end of my life, I won't say that that thing was my career. Though I love business, and I would say I'm passionate about it, and I love talking about it, It's not going to fill the hunger inside of my heart to know my God, and it's not going to fill yours either. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope that you find what you're looking for and also some value from this video. The purpose of this YouTube channel is to document the principles and philosophies that I'm learning as I'm trying to grow my own business. Feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along and see more of these types of videos. If you just haven't seen enough yet, you can watch my video where I talk about how business is all made up here. Take care.